Right, welcome back, and starting with our first segment for today, talking about the tourism industry and talking about many important things. Actually, this industry, we always say that it is so vulnerable, easily affected by anything that is taking place, whether we are talking about the macro environment or the micro environment. And of course, when we talk about tourism, it is not only about beaches or holiday makers. We have many things to be discussed. Even those who are involved in this, we have people who are joined directly or indirectly in this sector. In addition, of course, to investments that are taking place in this sector, especially during these days, the challenges that we are facing these days. Today, we have the pleasure to have with us Dr. Nagham Ismail, tourism expert, and I think we are going to discuss this in more details. First of all, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
I believe you will agree with me when I say that the tourism is so vulnerable, and definitely will be affected by anything that is taking place, not only in the country, but in the whole world, in the region. How do you see this? A challenging industry.
It is a challenging and fragile industry. Fragile not in the sense of the revenues or anything, or the professionals who works on this career, but in the sense of it's being affected by anything, as you said. We are all experiencing now the COVID-19. We could see that everything have been closed, shut down totally. First segment that has been affected is the tourism, because you have prevented people from traveling and moving around or using restaurants or going out to the social distance and so on. So it is the most affected and the most difficult to come back, because all the consequences and all the results coming out of COVID, you have to take certain measures in order to ensure the safety in the sense of health, of course, safety.
Let me tell you something here. Actually, I believe it's just by coincidence. I've just returned from Sharm el-Sheikh.
Oh.
And I was impressed by the precautionary measures taken over there. I've seen in the hotel that testing temperature whenever you enter to a place, especially when you come, you leave your bags,
to be
a lot of things. Even the room is really closed for 48 hours. Then they clean the room. If you don't want to clean your room during your stay, you don't want anyone to enter the room, again, you can do this. A lot of things. Tell me, how far is this important, and how can this help people? Because even people whom I met over there, yes, the number was not that much, but let me say, there were individuals coming from different countries, different nationalities. They were saying that Egypt, one of the best countries when it comes to COVID-19, talking about number of cases. And also, they want to take a break. They said, we want to take a break of even having the mask all the time or being locked at homes.
This is a very good thing to talk about, actually.
Just came to my mind.
No, that's very true. Egypt is having a lot of good things in parallel with what's happening in COVID-19. First, we were one of the first countries that have displayed and showed all the world what precautions we have been doing. We have been doing it with the fam trips, with press teams that came to visit Egypt in order to assure them of the health and safety measures. If we talk about safety, safety is two issues. Safety is for health, safety is for hygiene, safety is for the personal safety. Talking about the health safety here, we have a very good issue as well in Egypt, that we are having everything along with the sun. So sun prevents a lot of the infections, a lot of the, and even the heat that
Vitamin
happens,
D.
of course. In addition, that you're having everything in an open air. Talking about COVID, the thing is that you have to prevent the social distance. You have long beaches. Each hotel that you visit, you find at least 500 meters to a kilometer of beaches. It's an open distance with less number of people. Of course, you're having fresh air, you're having the sea, you're having the sport activity and so on. So this is one. If you're going to museums in Egypt, it's usually not only closed museums with ventilations where you have to take precautions more than outside, but you're having outside open air museums, areas where you can visit,
And control
villages.
on the number of people entering the place as well.
This is in addition to being in the open air, because the open air is the open environment where you don't have ventilations, ACs, and so on that could transmit or transfer the bacteria or a virus or whatever. Let alone that you're taking all the measures that you have said, like the disinfection of the room, disinfection of the luggages.
In restaurants, for example, we don't have an open buffet, but you have it, and you have someone who is serving from behind the bar, so you don't have to be close to someone or to use the same spoon.
Correct, correct. In addition, that you're having an open air space always, because we have the sun and we have terraces, we have big areas, remote areas where you can really do everything, not only closed, but also open. And not only for a month. It's most of the time you're having open air and you could easily enjoy it. And now you have heaters during the night, so you still can enjoy the open air with a side heater where you don't get infections from air conditioning. You don't have to disinfect more because it's an open air environment. In addition, that we have been stressing and updating our measures all along the way with the WHO measures and so on. So every time we have something new, even the creativity happened from a lot of hotels and a lot of restaurants where they said, okay, we will have mobile phones where you can check in. You have the menus with your own mobile and you just scan the menu and then you read it on your own, so you don't touch anything. So there is always as well additional point, that's the creativity added to what have been implemented. That's why people are interested to come. They are interested as well to get rid of the cold weather where you have to be in enclosed areas. So now you are in an open air, you have some fresh air coming to your lungs, you're breathing, you're having sports activity. You could do things at ease with a real distance. If you go into a mall or into an area where it's closed, you have a lot of no social distancing. While here, you can enjoy always the distance, you can enjoy the measures, you can enjoy the healthy weather and feeling of having a breath.
Even the rolling door, it was cancelled and closed, and now you have the electronic gates that just opens when you
Yes.
enter. Again, this is another, some minute details, but just make you feel at ease and make you comfortable.
Feeling safe about your health, that you will not get infected, in addition to what you have just mentioned, that we don't have real alarming measures. And this is due, of course, to all what we have mentioned, like the weather, like being very cautious with the tourism coming via the borders, how you get the PCR done, and so on.
If I'm talking about how to support this industry now, and how do you see, if we're talking, of course, it's not the investments itself, but we need to support those who are working in this industry. And I believe that still we have the chance that there are some people who are still willing to travel, at least just to keep it up, to allow people to work.
It has different aspects and directions. If we're talking from the aspect of the marketing, I think with what the government is doing now and the Ministry, of course, of Tourism and Antiquities, we are doing a lot of discoveries that we could really invade the world with these discoveries and make sure that it is on every social media, on every press release, on every documentary, in every filming talking about Egypt. So it's a part of marketing that goes parallel to what activities we are doing within this segment in order to ensure that the whole world is aware of what's going on. We have a lot of museums being opened. We have discoveries that's happening and is really important, and the whole world is awaits what's going to happen, how are we going to handle, how are we going to show the whole world. If you look away from the tourism, the filming abroad, you have a lot of films that revolves around the secret things about the pharaonic history. it's a real dream of everybody to feel the sense of the pharaonic life, how great they were, the things that they have built and nobody can build up till now. How did it survive? So if you talk about this, you could do really a lot of marketing that can go and revolve the whole world around what we are doing, discoveries that we are having, how can we market for it in future, taking into consideration that you're having the Great Museum coming soon. Yes, it was postponed from this October. I think I'm not sure, for next year. So this could be the material that we could use until we reach the time of the grand openings. So the marketing is one very important thing that we could do, and we make a lot of teasers to make the customer feel, yes, you can come and enjoy your time. We have to work around the weather and the environment and what we have here that's different than the others.
So let's stop here to talk about the weather, but as long as we're talking about the museums and discoveries, because I always say that museums, if you want to learn anything about Egypt and about the ancient history, the best place to visit is museums and to find out more about the ancient sites in Egypt. And as long as we're talking about ancient sites, let's move on with our colleague Dina Yunus to find out what she has to show us about Egypt.
The Egyptian navy intercepted and defied the navy of the Sea People during the 8th year of the reign of King Ramesses III. They defeated them so bad that the news of this battle was recorded on the walls of Habu Temple by the proud Egyptians. By that victory, Egypt was able to free itself and the countries of the ancient Near East from a great danger. These people disappeared from the scene of events and never thought again of encountering the army of Egypt. After a few years of catching breath after this vicious encounter and stand up against the Sea People, Ramesses III found himself in the 11th year of his reign, facing some of these people, which formed allies with the old enemies of Egypt, who were the Libyans, under the leadership of the Libyan leader Meshecher. The two armies met in the western delta, where the Egyptian army won and chased them till out of the Egyptian borders. That's how Ramesses III succeeded in terminating the Sea People in the east and the west. Later, he may have demonstrated the power of Egypt in Syria and Palestine, and may have reached El Furat River, which his ancestors have reached before. If King Ramesses III is attributed for saving Egypt and the area of the ancient Near East from the invasion of the Sea People, and that he succeeded in returning back to Egypt some of its reverence in the states that follow the Egyptian Empire, he is also accounted for that big number of constructions which Thebes has witnessed, and other cities as well. For there is Habu Temple in West Luxor, which could be considered Karnak of the West, in exchange for the Karnak temples of East Luxor.
Welcome back. And still we are talking about tourism with our guest, Dr. Nagham Ismail. And moving on from historical sites on to the tools of marketing when it comes to promoting Egypt for the other side, talking about the Red Sea and these areas, especially places where you can enjoy the vacation still, as you mentioned, outdoors.
Correct. Talking about a second, as we have a diversity of things to promote in Egypt, we are talking about the weather and the open air. So all the resorts that we're having are open air. You can enjoy the sun. You can even enjoy the sea, because the degree of the temperature of the sea itself is not as cold as other areas.
And so best for divers who would like to come. Of course. Yes.
Diving is another diversity of tourism that we could capitalize on and make sure that we could really have videoing or filming for underwater secrets and treasures that we are having. We have very unique spots here in Egypt that are very important for any diver who have diving lessons or diving licenses and so on to visit and make sure that he is seeing these spots. The spots are along the Red Sea from Hurghada up to Marsa Alam. There is a lot of virgin areas that we could capitalize on promoting. Not only there is other areas, of course, but
also the Mediterranean we can include, of course.
Absolutely,
Yes.
but this is the most important.
I mean, if for
spots.
those, I think the idea itself, even for us to just to see the underwater treasures and some of such a museum underwater, definitely
Absolutely,
this is
absolutely. But the Red Sea is more having more treasures. Talking about the Mediterranean, I will come back to this. We have the new cities that we are launching. If we are talking about the diversifying of the business that we're having, the measures now, the whole government is working to make new areas that could be areas for tourism and can work for the whole year, like the Alamein area, where you are building cities, you are increasing the capacities in order to get in parallel with the projects that are being taken there. The projects has nothing to do with tourism, yes, but it can provide a good area for resort area, for visiting beaches. You're having a relaxing area to live in, not only during summer, but the whole year. And along the beaches of the Mediterranean, you have a lot to see. We have managed to have activities along the summer, but now the thing is to expand for the whole winter. So this is again a diversity or an area where we can capitalize on, in addition to the Red Sea and open air and activities. Very important as well, if we have mentioned the discoveries, if we have mentioned the health and safety, safety of health, I mean, against the COVID, the open air areas, we could also talk about events calendar that we could provide in order to make sure that when tourism is back, everything will get into a flow and a whole program of events. The calendar of events could capitalize on having Egypt full the whole year, not only for 1 month or for 2 months or during peaks, but it could be, it could provide every month a different event where we could really capitalize on the visits after getting back into
one
normal
of the most
circumstances.
interesting events that we can host or try to work on, I believe, is soccer. Just if we can try to bring some big names of teams or something like this, because this is the most soft power ever. I believe people from all over the world will be attracted to soccer regardless of anything.
That's very true, but again, it's very important, the safety and the,
yes, of course, I'm
the
talking
measures
about,
of traveling, but it could be included in the calendar of events. You could include sports, filming, museums, fashion shows. You have here fashions like the Nubian fashion, like the Arabic style fashion.
I've seen something about Pharaonic as well, which
Pharaonic
is
a major thing that we could do along the year. Pharaonic treasures, Pharaonic jewelry, Pharaonic costumes, Pharaonic music, everything. You could really do a lot about it. But talking about soccer, it's still part of the activities that we could do for events. We had the African tournaments that happened in Egypt along different governorates. So you could include sports activities. Sports could be a lot of things as well, whether it's visits of names, celebrities, whether it's important events happening, friendly matches, special deals, hosting a special soccer team that could promote Egypt, and you take them along Egypt and tour with them while using social media and marketing in order to show what we have of new things, history, cultural, resorts,
And
and
this
so
will
on.
act as word of mouth, which is one of the main tools when it comes to marketing, of course.
Absolutely, but word of mouth now means social activity.
Yes, of course. I mean, we're
Yes.
talking, we hope that
Yes,
for in the very
absolutely.
near future.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Dr. Nagham Ismail, our tourism expert, always a pleasure having you with us on our breakfast show.
It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much.
And right now, moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back with more on the breakfast show.